Everyone doing? Code there. This is my third video of the day. I bet you're sick of the sight of me, aren't you? Right, I'm just gonna drop a video on mental health in prisons, right? Because I've just been thinking there, like, about my time in prison and some of the crazy shit that's gone on. And yeah, I just need to speak about it, to be honest. I mean, the prisons are doubling up as mental health units. And they shouldn't be, but because of the staff are not mentally health trained, right? There's a hell of a lot of people that go to prison that have got mental health problems, or because they're in prison and they're locked behind the doors against the will and stuff, because obviously you're in prison, and people are not used to it and things like that. It starts mental health problems, and if you've already got mental health problems, it makes them worse. Being in prison magnifies your problems by times 10, right? Like, if you're paranoid and stuff like that, while I was in prison, I met people that were paranoid schizophrenics, diagnosed. I seen people slash up as like a cry for help, and like I say, the medical staff within the prison, right, the healthcare, right, they're not mentally health trained, right? And there's only one doctor in the prison. For the whole jail, there was one proper doctor, right? There was one dentist and one doctor. You got loads of nurses. Well, you got loads of nurses zapping about the job, but again, they're not mentally health trained and stuff. And the truth be known, there's a hell of a lot of people that are in prison that have got mental health issues that, in theory, they should be in mental health units, whether it be secure or medium security or high security and stuff. Like I say, in prison, I've mixed with armed robbers, killers, serial killers, lifers, armed robbers, fucking down to just druggies, shoplifters and everything else. And you know what, yeah, like I say, I've seen a hell of a lot of mental health issues while I've been there. I was a cleaner on my last stretch, right, so I was out most of the time and that. And I got to be honest with you, the amount of people slashing up. And while I was there, right, there was a kid that, I was on the cleaner side, yeah, and then there was about 12 cleaners, and then there was another 3 pads on our side, yeah, what were not cleaners. And the kid next door to me, who was my mate, who was a cleaner with me, the cell to his right, he was desperate to stay in this cell for some reason. Now, we just brought on a new cleaner, and we needed that cell to put a cleaner in. And this guy was begging to the screw, no, just one more night in here, one more night in here. And we was all thinking, why? And then my boy next door, my mate next door, the cleaner, like I said, we don't do names, said to me, he said, listen, he said, I've been chatting to him, yeah, he's alive, or he's done fucking, I think he'd done 22 years, right, altogether. And do you know what he'd done? Like, the reason he wanted to stay in the pad is he had a lot of issues, yeah, he was hearing voices and stuff, and he burnt an hole in his within the metal, right, there's a plastic bit, right, it's like reinforced plastic, and he burnt an hole, right, and he wanted to build another hole so he could feed his fucking bedsheet through it and he could hang himself. And that's why he was kicking off, because he wanted to string up, right? And that's, like I say, there's a big difference between people, suicide and mental health issues and stuff, but they go hand in hand in many regards. You've got people within the prison system that need mental health medication, i.e. antipsychotic drugs, right? They're not getting them because, like I say, the staff are not mentally health trained, so they're not able to assess someone for their needs for the medication and stuff mentally. If you go to a doctor, if you're in a sane peace of mind, then you go to the doctor telling you're depressed and everything else, you're going to get antidepressants, right? In prison, it is very hard to get medication and stuff like that. They don't because obviously in prison you don't pay for prescriptions, you get them free, but they don't really like giving out medication. They give out methadone and stuff to the lads that are on drugs and stuff, but there's people that should be on antipsychotic drugs that are not. And then because they're chemically imbalanced in the brain, right? And what they're doing, they're substituting, because they're not getting any medication, because they don't ask for it, or they've not been. The only way you can get psychotic drugs, or like antipsychotic drugs, sorry, is if you're assessed by a mental health team and they say, right, you've got, this is a diagnosis, this is your medication you need to be on. But it's prison. Like I say, they're not mental health trained. So people that should be on antipsychotic drugs, what they're doing, they're actually, because they're chemically imbalanced in the brain, they're actually substituting that, and they're taking spice, which is like playing Russian roulette with your life. They're smoking weed. They might be on prison alcohol, which is known as hooch. Taking like pregabs, which is like a strong nerve painkiller. Subutex, which is it's there to block out the effects of heroin. Any people taking any little drug because they're offered it. If you're not sane mind and stuff, and someone offers you drugs and stuff, or you take it, or you're spiked, someone walks over to you with a spliff of fucking, and you think it, they say to you, "Oh, do you want some burn?" and you just start talking on it, right? And it's spice, yeah. It's causing a whole world of problems. I've seen people shitting up in prison, which I've done 2 videos today on toilet within prisons, and also a dirty protest and stuff. I've seen people slash up in the cell, and I don't mean little, like, there's 2 type of people that slash up, right? You've got the ones that do it for attention, i.e. little ones, right, where they barely break the skin, and then you have the people that are trying to end their life and stuff and trying to bleed out, where they're trying to sever arteries and stuff with razor blades. That you get prison razor, right? There's 2 blades on it. They snap it out with a plastic knife or something. They get that, and then they might melt it into the end of a toothbrush or something, and then start slashing and just start cutting and cutting and cutting. And like I say, people do it for many different reasons. People do it because to alleviate the pressure that's built up within inside them, they have to swap the emotional pain for physical like pain, i.e. cutting themselves. Then I've seen people that are slashed up, that have covered themselves in shit. And I've heard people smashing the fuck out the door, just nutting the door, smashing the pad up, absolutely smashing the head off the cell door, because the surroundings and stuff, they don't think like you and I. And do you know what? Like at the time, yeah, like I say, people laugh and stuff and think it's funny, but when you actually sit down after, you actually look at when you sat behind your door and you think about what you've witnessed and stuff, you actually think, fucking hell, like, it's not right. These people are in prison, and they shouldn't be. They should be in mental health units. And like I say, there's not enough screws to go around. People with mental health issues, they'll be on the buzzers a lot. The buzzers, they get ignored willy-nilly, right? They just get ignored. They're seen as troublesome prisoners. And if you've got a reputation for pressing your buzzer all the time, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? The one time that you need them, they might not come because you've slashed up or something. They might not come because you've buzzed your buzzer that many times. You've made threats that many times. Like people in prison, some people play the mental health card, which I've alluded to in previous videos, to get a single cell and stuff. And then you've got the genuine cases that have got serious mental health issues and stuff. While I was in on my last stretch, someone died of a drug overdose. Was that a suicide attempt? Was that because of the mental health issues? Was it just because they'd taken too many drugs? That was on a drug-free wing, which was adjacent to my wing, which was the induction wing. There was a nonce, right, or a VP, nonce, bacon, whatever you want to call them. He was getting terrorised behind his door, and he ended up fucking head diving off the 2s onto the 1s and stuff. A screw grabbed his legs, he fell, smashed all his wig open, had to have some of his skull cut away and stuff to alleviate pressure on his skull. Like I say, you see people get attacked, screws get attacked, prisoners attacking prisoners and stuff because they've got issues in the brain. There's a lad that I was locked up with, like I say, I'm not going to mention his name, we don't do names, but he used to say to me, like, when I go for my dinner, I like to be at the back of the queue because I don't want anyone behind me, because if I do, I think they're going to go at me. And he carried a weapon with him, right? There was a lad that used to work in the workshops, right? He was a top lad, he's out now, I think. And he used to have a big fucking, it was like a very thick, strong plastic, it was like a spike, yeah. And he had it like a T shape, right? So the T shape would go under his fingers, and he'd have it, and someone went at him, he'd stab him. He was on drugs, he was a bad spice head and stuff, right? But he carried weapons because in his brain, he's thinking, they're going to target me. You get people that refuse to eat the food because they think that there's been chemicals and drugs being planted in the food and stuff. It goes on. Like, And you know what? The people with mental health issues within prisons, they get bullied, right? They get targeted by other prisoners and stuff because they know they've got issues and stuff. They'll wind them up, and like then they get a reaction because the people that wind these people up that have got mental health issues, they're looking for reaction. Now, mental health, right? There's a lot of stigmas attached with mental health and stuff like that, right? You got a lot of former soldiers in prison that have got PTSD, right? You've got people that are suffering depression, anxiety, anger problems, psychosis, paranoid schizophrenia. There's so many labels to put on people within prison now. What you've got, right, and you know what the worst thing is? Prison doesn't help them, right? Prison, if you've got mental health issues and you're in prison, and you're not getting, and you just think about it. If you've got a problem and it's up here, and you're not getting the medication, right? You're going untreated, right? The longer you're in prison, and you're locked behind your door for long periods of time, you're sitting there with your own thoughts, and people stir them crazy. People shit up. They write on the cell walls in shit, as I've alluded to in one of the videos I've done today. People slash up. People slash other people, and it all stems from mental health issues and stuff. And do you know what? Like I say, it's so sad to see. And like I say, I do these videos to speak out and stuff, but to show the prison system for what it is. But the Ministry of Justice, like I say, the lads that are in prison should be in mental health units where they can be medicated, they can be supervised, and they can be looked after. If you stick someone with mental health issues in a cell for, if you're in a Cat A 23 hours a day, right, and that person, right, they might be in a single cell because they've been placed as high risk, or they might be in a double. And then, like I say, there was a guy that was in Strangers with me, and he had mental health issues, and someone slipped him an LSD trip, right, or two. He smashed his cell up, right, thought that there was a fire-breathing dragon in the cell with him. And that's no joke, that's not a laughing matter. His head was gone, and he was hallucinating because someone had spiked him with LSD, and he was smashing the fuck out of his cell because he thought there was a fire-breathing dragon within his cell with him. I've heard it where I've been asleep, and you've had people that are screaming, like people that are screaming out in the middle of the night, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just screaming, and they're on the buzzer, and they're confused, and they don't know where they are, and they're in desperate need of serious like mental health screening so that they can be placed in mental health units and stuff. Like I say, prisons are not mental health units, and neither should they be. And like I say, people go to prison with mental health issues, right? If you've got an anger problem, everything, people put labels on you in prison, left, right, and centre, right? Whether it be for the crime that you're in, or because of your actions, or how you react to things, right? You have antisocial, like antipsychotic behaviour, where antisocial, like sociopath things where they don't like associating with people. Where they're antisocial, you've got and then the violent and stuff like that, and then you factor in the fact that there's not enough screws and stuff to safely control the lads. You have 3 screws for a wing of 80 people, 4 screws for 80 people. That's 20 prisoners per screw, right? And it's not enough. And like I say, the nurses are so far stretched because these prisoners with these serious issues are crying out for help, and crying out to be assessed mentally, like mentally health assessed and stuff, and they're going untreated, and they're being ignored, and the complaints are being ignored. And then if you're in prison for long periods of time, we're social people, right? That's just how we are, we're social. Now, if you put there's people go to prison with no mental health issues, right? And then because they're locked behind the door, they start to develop mental health issues, right? And they start becoming paranoid, and prison's a very paranoid place anyway, because 1 minute it can be hunky-dory and it can snap, right? So imagine a place where it's highly volatile, you've got very dangerous, violent, volatile inmates, right? Then you add into the fact of drugs, new psychoactive substances, so like legalized, like spice and stuff, right? And then you've got these and then you add into the thing mental health problems, right? And people with serious mental health issues, right? Where they might hear voices, or the voices in their head are telling them to stab people or hurt people, and these people are going untreated. And then the Ministry of Justice are shocked when prison officers are being attacked and stuff. The mind boggles, it really does. And like I say, I don't like I've been there, right? There's too many people in the public domain that speak about these sorts of issues, right? And they've never stepped foot in prison. I've seen it firsthand, right? I've seen people slashing up, right? Seen people slashing up, slash. There was one kid, right, that jumped up on the fucking. He'd lost his head, right? His head had snapped. You could see it in his eyes. He wasn't there. He looked vacant. He jumped up on the bars, right? And everyone's threatening him and everything else. And then I got piss taken at me, right? Because he was going to jump. There's no, he could see it in his eyes. He was going to jump, right? And I went round, yeah, and I looked at him and I got his attention. I said, look at me. I said, look. I said, chill. And then he wouldn't listen to anyone, and he was listening to me. And he jumped down. I actually hugged him. Right? He went into his cell, and then he slashed himself up, and really, really badly slashed himself up. And there was claret everywhere. And like I say, 1 minute I spoke to him, right? 1 minute it was normal, and then the next minute he'd phase out, and it's like he was another person, literally like bipolar sort of disorder, but bad, really bad. Right, guys, listen, anyway, I've waffled on long enough. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll speak to you all soon. All right, guys, bye.